Welcome back to the Plant Kingdom part 7. That is, today's session will be learning about Pteridophyta. In our previous video, we have seen in detail about bryophytes. Now let us move on to the next subtopic, that is Pteridophyta. The first vascular plant and the first successful terrestrial plant with the true root, stem and leaves, but no flower, fruits and seed. So as we are seeing from the algae, till Pteridophyta, we were not able to identify, or we were not able to differentiate the plant into root, stem and leaves. Now in the subtopic called pteridophytes, or the pteridophytes are the plant. These are the first vascular plant on the land. Vascular plant in the sense they possess xylem and phloem. They consist of xylem and phloem in their body. In the structure of the plant possesses xylem and phloem as vascular bundles to carry out the different work. Along with that, you are going to see the true roots and stem and leaves, but there is no flowers, fruits and seed which you are going to see in the pteridophytes. If you compare from algae, we can say that pteridophytes are more advanced compared to bryophytes, because bryophytes possesses hair-like structure. We call them as rhizoids, but they were not true roots. Now in case of pteridophytes, we are going to see vascular bundles along with root, stem and leaves. So they are also called as vascular cryptogames. Due to the presence of vascular system in them, they are said to be vascular cryptogames. The pteridophytes include horsetail and ferns. Ferns and horsetail are included in the pteridophytes. The pteridophytes are terrestrial. The habitat where pteridophytes are growing are small. They are terrestrial in the sense they are growing on the land. Small, either annual or perennial. So the plants are annuals or perennials, in the sense they lead their life cycle. Some of the plants may complete their life cycle for 1 year. Some will leave their life for, the lifespan will be for more than 3 to 5 years and grow luxuriantly in cool, moist and shady places. So when I said that the pteridophytes, majority of the pteridophytes which we are going to study in detail about, horsetail and the ferns. So the habitat of the pteridophytes are terrestrial, in the sense they are going to grow on the land. The place the place should be cool, the place should be moist and it should be shady. So the examples like fern, they are going to grow in such a habitat. They may be aquatic like Azolla and Marsilia. They may be xerophytic, where there is a scarcity of the water like deserts. So the example is Equisetum. Or they may be epiphytic like Lycopodium. Epiphytic means growing on a large trunk of tree. They require the help of one more tree to grow on them. They are going to grow on some other tree. So such plants growing on another plant, we call it as epiphyte. So the habitat, if you considered the habitat, according to habitat, please remember the examples of pteridophytes. So the aquatic pteridophytes are Azolla and Marsilia. They are growing totally inside the water. The plants who are xerophytic, the place where you are going to get less amount of water, scarcity of water like desert area, sandy area. The example is Equisetum and epiphytic. The pteridophyte which can grow on other plants are known as Lycopodium. So these are some of the examples and the habitat and the peculiar characters which make them advanced compared to algae and fungi. Now the next one, the primary root is short-lived and soon replaced by adventitious roots. So the primary roots will not grow for long time. It will dies off, it will get detached off, or it will dies off. Then you are going to get adventitious root on the plant through which they continue their life. Stem may be aerial or underground. The stem of the plant may be aerial, which is growing above the ground. We call them that the stem which is growing above the ground, we call it as aerial, and the stem which is growing under the ground, under the soil, we call it as underground modification, or underground is stem which will modify into different things. The leaves may be scaly. In case of equisetum, you can see the leaves are scaly leaves. Simple and sessile in case of lycopodium, or large and pinnately compound in case of ferns. So my dear students, you are supposed to remember the habitat, as in case of equisetum belongs to a xerophyte, and Marsilia belongs to aquatic, and Lycopodium belongs to epiphyte. So the different examples is being given, like equisetum has got scaly leaves, and sessile is Lycopodium, and the large pinnately compound leaves you are going to see it in case of ferns. The leaves in pteridophytes are small, we call it as microphyllous, as in Selaginella, or large or microphyllous as in case of fern. So these are very important for the point of competitive. The leaves, particularly they have given you where they grow, different examples where they grow and what kind of leaves they have got. There is a peculiarity of the leaves, like scaly leaves, simple and sessile leaves, pinnately compound leaves you are going to see. Along with that, the leaves in the pteridophytes, some of the leaves are very, very small. Very small leaves are present, as in case of Selaginella, and in case of your ferns you are going to see large leaves. In pteridophytes, the xylem consists of only tracheids and phloem consists of sieve cells. My dear students, in the next chapters, like the chapter which is there for your syllabus, the chapter like morphology of flowering plants, anatomy of flowering plant, you are going to see detailed structure of your vascular bundles and some of the tissues like parenchyma, sclerenchyma and all. There you are going to get in detail, you are going to study in detail about xylem and phloem, what are the components of xylem and phloem. So here you just remember the pteridophyte xylem, because they are vascular plant, they consist of xylem for water conduction and storage of food for in case of phloem. So these are the two tubes which conduct water and minerals in them. So the xylem consists of the component of the xylem only, it consists of tracheids. It's not so well developed compared to the angiosperms and gymnosperms, which you are going to see it in your later sessions. And the phloem consists of sieve cells. Secondary growth is not seen in pteridophytes due to absence of cambium. So there is a cambium strip which is present in between xylem and phloem, that is absent in case of pteridophytes. So we are not going to see the secondary growth. In higher plant, there is a strip of cambium which is present in between xylem and phloem, which we are going to study in the unit 2 in detail about that. So you are supposed to remember xylem consists of tracheids, phloem consists of sieve cell, and coming to the secondary growth, it is absent due to due to absence of cambium. Secondary growth is not seen, or it is not found in pteridophyte due to the absence of cambium. Now coming to the life cycle, that is alteration of generation, heteromorphic. You are going to see pteridophytes will show you heteromorphic alternation of generation. I have put on the numbers on your here they have given you the examples of the ferns. So these ferns will give rise to the leafy bodies. They are going to produce the spores by the meiosis. Those spores are going to grow into a different anthrozoids, and gametophytes are going to produce like anthodium and archegonium. Anthrozoids or the sperm, they get fuses and they give rise to fertilization takes place, and a young sporophyte on gametophyte you are going to see that gametophyte will again grow into a new plants. Okay, so the the two male and female plant are going to give rise to sporophyte. Those sporophytes are present in the leaflets. Those leaflets are going to produce spores by the process of meiosis. These meiosis in turn will give rise to another leafy structure called prothallus, which undergo gametophytic condition, producing two types of gamete called antheridium and archegonium. Antheridium produces sperm and archegonium produces egg. Both will get fuses by the process of fertilization, giving rise to a zygote, that is the young sporophyte on the gametophyte. You are going to see it. Okay, so this is heteromorphic alternation of generation. So reproduction, let me pass on to the reproduction in pteridophytes. The sporophytes show asexual reproduction and produce spores by meiosis, as I have shown you just now. In the alternation of generation, you have seen the sporophyte will go for meiosis to give you gametophyte. Each gametophyte develop a haploid recessive independent structure that will undergo sexual reproduction to produce zygote, which is diploid sporophyte. Spores are produced in a special multicellular structure called sporangia. The spores are not going to produce anywhere, they are going to produce in a special structure which is multicellular. My dear students, the spores which are going to produce in pteridophytes are produced in a special structure. They are multicellular in nature. The structure is called sporangia, and the sporangia are produced by a leaf-like appendages called sporophylls. In some cases, sporophylls may form distinct compact structure called strobili. One more question: what is strobili or cones? These are the sporophylls which forms a distinct compact structure. In the sporophyll of Pteridophyta, they form a distinct compact structure. That structure we call it as strobili or cone. Example: Selaginella and Equisetum. The sporangia produce spore by meiosis in spore mother cell. The spore germinate to give rise to inconspicuous small but multicellular free-living mostly photosynthetic thylaid called gametophyte called prothallus. So this is how the alternation of generation, you have seen it. That is the explanation for this. And next, coming to the gametophyte require cool, damp, shady place to grow. The gametophyte bear male and female sex organ called antheridia and archegonia respectively. Water is required for transfer of anthrozoid. The male gamete released from the antheridia to the mouth of archegonium. Fusion of male and female gamete with the egg present in the archegonium result in the formation of zygote. So zygote thereafter produces a multicellular well differentiated sporophyte, which is a dominant phase. So the sporophyte, which is a dominant phase of the pteridophytes. In majority of the pteridophytes, all the spores are similar kind. Such plants we call it as homospores. The spores which are similar in nature. Majority of the pteridophytes, the spores look alike. They look similar to each other. Such kind of plants we call it as homosporous. Genera like Selaginella and Salvinia, which produces two kinds of spores. Remember the examples like Selaginella and Sylvania, they are going to produce two different kinds of spores: macrospores, which are large in size, microspores, which are small in size. We call it as heterospores. Majority of the pteridophytes, they produces same kind of spores. So we name it as homosporous. Especially in case of Selaginella and Sylvania, they are going to produce different kinds of spores. So we can call them as heterosporous. The megaspore and microspores germinate and give rise to a female and male gametophyte respectively. The female gametophyte in these plants are retained on the parent sporophyte for variable period. The development of the zygote into young one takes place within the female gametophyte. Okay, so this is the structure of your the pteridophytes. Apart from the normal way of reproduction, also sometimes show following method. As you know that the algae, bryophyte and pteridophytes will show asexual and sexual reproduction. So asexual and sexual reproduction, you have seen, it may be from the fragmentation or through the spore formation, and sexually by the fusion of male and female. Along with that, you are going to see a special kind of reproduction which is seen in case of pteridophytes, that is not known as apogamy and apospory. Apogamy is the development of sporophyte without fusion of male and female gamete. It arises directly from the gametophyte, hence sporophyte is haploid. So the directly formation of sporophyte, you are going to see it in case of apogamy. There will be no fusion of male and female gamete. So without the fusion of male and female gamete, directly it will convert into gametophyte. Hence we call it the sporophyte is haploid. Now coming to the apospory, it is a development of gametophyte from any cell of the sporophyte other than the haploid spores. Leaving the haploid spores, the gametophyte can be developed from any cells which are present in the plant body except the haploid spore. Such gametophyte we call it as diploid in nature. They are diploid in nature. So this kind of reproduction we call it as apospory. So please do remember these two special kind of reproduction which you can see it in pteridophytes. Apogamy, directly giving rise to gametophyte without fusion of male and female gametes, and hence sporophyte is haploid. Here in case of apospory, development of gametophyte is going to take place through any cell except your haploid spore, other than your haploid spores. So we call the gametophyte as a diploid in nature. They are diploid in nature. The sporophyte which is present in case of apogamy will be haploid in nature. So the pteridophytes are divided into subclasses like Psilopsida, Lycopsida, Sphenopsida, Pteropsida. So these are the subclasses of your pteridophytes. Lycopsida, examples are Selaginella and Lycopodium. Psilopsida example is Psilotum. Phenopsida example is Equisetum. Pteropsida example is Pteris, Dryopteris, Adantum. Okay. So this is the information regarding your pteridophytes. Now I'll conclude this video with this. Next we'll continue with angiosperm and gymnosperm. Thank you.